Today, you're seeing all the alts pumping. We're seeing Avalanche pump. We're seeing Solana pump. Today, we're talking about Cathie Woods and why she thinks some of these L1s are going to overtake Ethereum. Maybe not in market price, but it's definitely going to overtake for an investor perspective. All the institutional money is flowing in this direction. We're going to cover her comments. We're going to break it down. Can Solana overtake ETH? We're going to answer that question as well. Time to discover crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special. You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
Thank you for joining, everybody. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. We got a special guest for the Basement Bandits today.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, this is a new name.
How you guys doing?
Yeah,
How you guys doing?
We got Drew on here. We shout out to the chat. They just came up with Basement Bandits.
Basement Bandits.
I think we're going to stick with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And shout out to the members. We see your badges in chat. If you are a member, you're going to get all these cool features. You get a little custom emojis, member-only Q&As. I think that's really what people are going to want to see.
Yeah.
Look at my portfolio. Tell me why I'm dumb or smart. And reaffirm my bias, I think is what we're going to get a lot of. And private Discord channel as well, guys.
Yeah,
so you're going to want to stick on that.
We're doing the first members-only stream on Friday this afternoon. After the live show, we'll be doing that members-only stream, reviewing your portfolios and giving some of our deeper picks that we talk about in Discord. You're not going to want to miss that. So shout out to all the members out there.
Speaking of deeper picks, we got some deep picks in the alt section, and we're going to look at Cathie Wood's recent appearance on Squawk Box. Drew, this isn't for chicken coop building.
Okay.
I know you heard Squawk Box and you got real excited.
Yeah.
Because you have your own chicken situation going on right now.
I do.
Actually.
Yeah. I had a chicken scratching at my door this morning. You know,
it's cold, right?
It was
cold.
Well, he's wandering out. He got displaced out of the clock,
wait, he didn't bring the newspaper to the door?
No,
well, I know what I want to eat this Thanksgiving. Well, no, we're talking about Cathie Wood. We're going to do a deep dive on that interview. We got all the best sections pointed out for you. We're going to break it down and do a little review. But first, let's look at some of the coins she is mentioning. All right, we go into the top 10 of crypto market cap here. You see Bitcoin and Ethereum largely flat. We have a 0.2%, 0.1% movement to the upside, 1% movement to the downside. But then you go down to Solana, and Solana is moving 12% and is now above $60. Did anyone think it was going to hit 60 after reaching 40 so quickly? It just teleported to 60. A lot of traders were saying, guys, there is no liquidity. It's just going to teleport to one level, maybe $30 or $60. It went up, folks. A lot of people weren't expecting that, though.
Yeah, it's starting to get into the part of the season where coins are moving really fast. You see it hit a level and you think like, okay, I'm going to wait for a pullback to get an entry, and then it just pumps again. You're like, I really wanted to get in there. So, and I think we're seeing that happen because there is so much institutional interest. When you get people like Cathie Woods, Mr. Wonderful, all these different people on CNBC all the time pumping their bags, we're getting into that part of the cycle where it's getting a lot of fun.
All right. Speaking of a lot of fun, we're having a lot of fun with Avalanche as well. Now, Drew, you have some Avalanche. Have you been talking about that with the basement? What are our Basement Bandits?
Yeah, Basement Bandits. Yeah, we've definitely been talking about Avalanche quite a bit, and it's right behind my Chainlink bag, so it's a pretty big portion of my holding.
Number 2,
yeah,
or 3 maybe.
Yeah, probably. Right. Actually, number 2 now. Yeah. In valuation, it started as number 5, right?
Look
and then this price move absolutely ripped. So. Huge exciting news for me to see Avalanche keeping up with Solana even to the slightest degree. I still think Solana is kind of outpacing it right now on those gains, but really happy to at least have that portion and raid the danger of Chainlink on its upswing, but hopefully Chainlink can hold where it's at right now.
Well, speaking of gains, look at Caspa. So victory lap for all the people that are mining in the chat, those who are following Nick Dimondi's content. Hey, welcome Crimson Caravan Company to the Alliance. So you're welcome. You get all the cool emojis and stuff like that. We got a super chat. Where is Solana heading next? My instinct says it's going to revisit the $45 range. That's just my instinct. I'd have to look at some of the order books, so maybe we'll rely on Kelly or Tim. I'll ask them later in the day. Maybe they can check out some of the Solana order book just to see what direction. Because there's one thing you can't bet against. It's VC's ability to pump a token against all seemingly odds. So you think it must go down. It has to go down. It's so overbought. The RSI, there's red dots. It must. Well, the VCs can. they can outbuy the market there. So
This
you just got to
recent
be
pump
careful.
helped out the FTT or the the holdings of the FTX sell off. All those assets that were still in Solana.
Yeah.
That price pumping.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about FTX and their holdings of Solana, and everybody's thinking, oh, like they're just pumping it up, wait for that massive dump to come. It's actually not the case. I mean, they've done most of the selling, and then a lot of it is locked up, I believe, until 2028. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. So make sure you do your research before you just jump on the narrative that, oh, Solana's pumping, FTX is going to dump it all, it's going back down. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and looks like Kelly, he's looking at some Solana stuff. We might pull him in later. He's saying $46 is the next level down for Solana. I'm not saying it will go down, but if it does go down, I'm going to pull a Frankie Candles here. If it goes up, if it goes down, this is what's going to happen. If it goes down, maybe look at $46.
I want to know where the next level, I mean, I think the next level is like $100 if it's going up. So that,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I recall from 2021, teleported to 20, teleported to 40, very quick flirtation with 60, then just essentially was $100. Then essentially was $200, or at least that's what it felt like. Well, let's talk about Cathie Woods right now. Cathie Woods, if you don't know, big investor in the crypto scene, big investor in the tech scene. She was heavy on Tesla, X/Twitter, a lot of crypto. She has a first in line after Grayscale for a Bitcoin trust as well. So she's got a lot of filings on the ETP and ETF front. Well, she was on Squawk Box, and they're talking about crypto. They talk about crypto. They talk about Solana. They talk about his Bitcoin King. So we have a couple excerpts we're going to play from there. So you guys are ready. Let's listen to Cathie on good old Squawk Box. All right, this first clip is right around a minute, and this is them talking about Bitcoin.
$1,000.
BJ, if you want me to turn that up, just let me know.
The move that we've seen in Bitcoin over the last, 2 months now, how much of that is a function of sort of a pent-up demand or an anticipation that the SEC, because folks like BlackRock and Fidelity and you and others have made these applications, have this sense that it's more likely to happen now than it was a year or two ago?
Yeah.
And is that misguided? Is that realistic? What is that?
I think what has happened...
So essentially he's asked her, are we seeing the movement from the ETF news? Is this a signal that ETFs will be approved? Cathie, what do you say?
The change is that the SEC actually asked us questions. I think asked us questions, asked BlackRock, probably has asked a lot. Whereas before, our filings were just rejected outright. Hand.
Okay.
So that is movement. That is significant. And, over the years, I've gotten to know the research people at the SEC, and I'm very impressed. And I was impressed by the questions they asked us, too. So,
what were the kinds of questions they asked?
A lot of them were very technical. They're all about protecting the consumer. And, of course, the showstopper, at least from Gary Gensler's point of view, is he thinks Bitcoin can be manipulated. And, this is a decentralized, transparent network. You can follow all the activity online. It's highly unlikely.
It had to be that because
highly unlikely this was manipulated. So there she is talking about Bitcoin, the most secure network all around, saying, a huge shift in the SEC and how they talk to us. Before, flat outright rejections.
Yeah.
But now they're actually asking follow-up questions, asking, what are we doing to safeguard any kind of potential manipulation? What are we doing to have any kind of a surveillance sharing agreement? So they're asking questions, and not only that, technical questions. Because one thing about Gary, Gary might pretend he doesn't know anything about crypto, but he taught blockchain technology at MIT. So the man knows the technical aspects of crypto. He knows the technical aspects of DeFi. It's just it's a charade. It's a charade when you see him he's making jokes about staking, and I can't even remember if he jokes about vampires or actually grilling steaks, but he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's talking about.
Right.
He's playing the buffoon just to give it that, all shucks, we got to get rid of this thing. All right, here she's going to talk about the ETFs a little bit more in depth. This one is right around a minute or two, and then we're going to have her Solana clip right after this, where she says Solana, why she likes it more than Ethereum. So it's going to be right after this one. Stick around for that too.
he understands, Cathie. He's got enough not many people do. A lot of people don't have enough knowledge about how it works to make an informed decision about Bitcoin. He taught at MIT so he understands that it's not a Ponzi scheme or a Beanie Baby. Right. So there has to
wait. Bitcoin is not a Beanie Baby. No. CNBC is bullish, everybody.
Yeah. Be something else.
Well, I don't know what it is. I have wondered. There's speculation that he's interested in the Treasury Secretary position at some point. What does the Treasury Secretary do?
Protecting fiat for the government?
I mean, very focused on. I don't know. I don't understand it myself because he definitely understands.
He understands.
This is a bombshell allegation. He's essentially saying that Gary Gensler is fighting for the Treasury Department position that he wants in the future. He's not trying to regulate crypto. He's not trying to be a good chairman for the SEC. He's worried about his next position. He's worried about his next job.
And I agree with that 100%. We've heard this, several different people talking about this. This is not the first time this thought has been floated. He is a political power player, and that's his number one goal is to get to that next seat. I don't think he's going to be able to do that at this point because he's had so many missteps in this seat. And I think he's getting called out left and right for it. So get him out of here, get him out of the way so we can all get on with our lives and he can stop throwing up roadblocks left and right.
I like Bob from accounting's analogy here. Did you just say Gary is the Kaiser Sose of the SEC? Kind of. Yeah. Kind of. He's limping around pretending like he doesn't know how to walk. The man can sprint when it comes to knowing about blockchain technology. He can more than walk. He can run. All right, you guys ready for the Solana section here? This is where she talks about Solana. So if you're bullish on Solana, just buckle up. Go ahead and hit screen record. All right, this is going to get nuts.
That is the decentralized finance network.
So Bitcoin and Ether. Anything beyond that?
Well, there are infrastructure players. Solana is doing a really good job. I mean, if you look at Ether was faster and cheaper than Bitcoin in the day. That's how we got Ether. Solana is even faster and cost effective than Ether. So, there are infrastructure plays. We do believe Web3, digital assets. That's a big idea, actually. Digital assets with property rights. First time ever online that we're seeing property
rights. Do you think that some bears...
All right, very, very bullish on Solana right there. I mean, what she's saying is true. When it comes to transactions per second and what it costs to make a transaction, I mean, technically she's right, but I don't think she's saying Ether is going to pass or, Ether is going to be surpassed by Solana. I think she's saying right now, that's where the interest is at because of how cheap it is and how, I don't want to say secure, but how easy it is to transact.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with a lot of these people, what they're doing is they've got the high-level talking points. Like you said, she's not wrong. It does have faster transactions. It's a very different use case. It's a very different blockchain for a lot of different reasons. But what's interesting is when you see a lot of these top-level people trying to bring this up to the mainstream, across mainstream media, we're seeing it floating out we saw it with Larry Fink, with BlackRock. At first, he was only talking Bitcoin. Now, all of a sudden, they're talking Bitcoin and Ethereum. Cathie Woods, for a long time, she was a big proponent of Coin, the Coinbase stock. And that's really where the conversation started with a lot of this stuff. And then they talk about Bitcoin ETFs. She's second in line for it, like DZ mentioned. Now they're talking Ethereum ETFs. Now they start dripping out Solana in there. And that's what makes it really interesting when they start mentioning these top-level things, how much more can follow. Some people worry this is a top signal. Like, hey, if you've been accumulating Solana, we've teleported, we've seen like a 2.5x almost from where it was, not even just a month or two ago. Maybe it's ready for a pullback. However, if they continue to push these things and we see institutions flooding into it, and that's what we've seen with Solana, most of the inflows have been from institutional investors, not retail. Hold on.
Oh,
dab.
Dude,
dab.
Oh, God. I was holding that one in for a minute. So
nice.
When you see that stuff coming through, it's going to continue to pump those bags up. And it's just a matter of if there's a pullback coming. Again, Bitcoin always leads the charge. So the way you can determine what's going to happen with altcoins many times is if we think we're going to see another leg up for Bitcoin next week, which I'll be interested to see what Kelly has to see on the charts. I'm seeing some, like we saw huge deposits from whales coming onto exchanges. We absorbed those sales pretty quickly. Could be some miners taking profits there. If next week we continue on the upward trend, if we can break through 37, I do think a lot of these other layer ones have room to run beyond that. However, if Bitcoin starts to pull back just a touch, that's when a lot of these gains can be, you come back to reality a little bit with some of these other layer ones.
Time for multiple choice question here, because, people want to know, all right, well, what's the next Solana? All right, so they're saying, well, Solana is the next ETH when it comes to, institutional money. So we got Bitcoin out of the way. We got Ethereum out of the way. We got Solana out of the way. What is the next coin that these VCs want to pump directly with an ETF? I'll give you guys 3 options here. Chainlink, Avalanche, Cardano. Which of those 3 are more likely to have BlackRock file for an ETF?
Oh, easy. I mean, easy.
He's saying it's easy Chainlink.
I don't see easy Chainlink.
Yeah, I don't see Cardano ever getting an ETF. I don't see. Avalanche is further down the line. I would go Chainlink for sure.
Yeah,
maybe Avalanche, never Cardano. In my opinion,
that was my answer. I mean, Avalanche has a lot of VC interest on the front end, anyways. But I think Chainlink's a reasonable, kind of next step for larger interest in that. And I'm not surprised at all that Solana is moving into this kind of ETF potentiality now. It's been talked about by the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements for a long time. It's been cooked into their documents for a long time, and it's still operational. It's still kept the lights on, and this is how technology moves, where you have winners. It's like a racehorse, like what we saw in the internet era, overtaking AOL, Netscape, all those things. So it's a crazy thought, but it's been done before in the past cycles. And honestly, I don't discount Solana, achieving the market cap that Ethereum did in our previous bull market.
All right, we got one last clip where she talks about Bitcoin. She goes back to Bitcoin. I feel like in her mind, she had, I don't have my coffee with me. The little devil's like, you're pumping Solana too hard. Roll it back. Talk about Bitcoin again. Then at the very end right after that Solana pumpamental speech that she just gave, here she's going to pivot back and tell us why Bitcoin is king.
And it said, okay, there will be a Bitcoin 2.0 that someone comes up with. I don't know whether there's something more perfect.
There were so many.
Is there anything more perfect? Can there be something more perfect than Bitcoin?
I think most people understand that Bitcoin is the money revolution. This is the first global.
A lot of people don't understand that because they haven't read anything about it.
Right.
The man just said, I'm glad people don't understand anything about Bitcoin because they haven't read anything about it. What does that mean to you? That means this guy is accumulating Bitcoin,
right?
Meeting with billionaires, tech CEOs, multimillionaires, 100 billionaires, whispering Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm glad people don't know about Bitcoin. That's how we feel right now. That's how we really feel about those deep alts. So let us know. But yeah, I want to pause on that. I'm glad people don't know about Bitcoin. He just said.
That's just really disheartening.
Government
just trying to hold all the information to yourself. Very, very selfish.
Yeah.
Very selfish.
Recite.
Yeah.
Digital. Very important. Rules-based monetary system in history. And Art Laffer, my professor, mentor, and friend, when we did our first paper on and took our first position in Bitcoin in 2015, when he understood what this was, he said, I've been waiting for this since they closed the gold window in 1971.
Her mentor said, I've been waiting for this since they closed the gold. I think she said window in 1979. I have to see what she means. I guess alluding to some action after the 72, the Bretton Woods Agreement, correct?
Oh, no, Bretton Woods was after World War I.
No, that was the
1971, we pulled off the gold standard.
What was that act called? We have the smartest chat. They'll let us know. There's something.
There's something else in 74 though. In 74, they allowed futures ETF of gold, not spot. Right after they pulled us off the gold standard, and waited until 2004 to give us a spot Bitcoin or a spot gold ETF. So I've always kept those things in the back of my mind.
Well, speaking of spot, I spot with my eye, with my one good eye. And guys, at the end of the show, I'll tell you how my eye doctor appointment went. It went worse than I expected, if I'm just being completely frank here. Anyways, with my one good eye, I spy Kelly. Can you let us know? Let's look at some of these charts. We're asking you about the Solana levels. I know TJ's asking you about some Bitcoin levels, so we might talk a little Bitcoin as well. What are the charts showing you? What are these BitLab indicators showing you, Kelly?
Well, first thing, not I'm getting double here. Double audio. I'm going to mute this and not be able to hear you. The Gold Reserve Act of 1974 is what took us off the gold standard. But by the way, I'm not going to be able to hear you because I'm getting double audio. So I just muted it. So what I want to look at first is everybody's talking about all these alts pumping So I just want to urge a little bit of caution, because this is the path to these altcoin rallies, the money flow, where capital flows in the market. We saw a massive pump in Bitcoin, and it took us up over 31,000, up to 35, up to you basically tapped over 38 on some exchanges. Ethereum broke over $2,100. Now we're seeing Solana and AVAX and Cardano also pushing higher, and other large cap coins also moving. Are we going to see a meme cycle next? I don't know, but everybody's thinking this is just the time where we're just going to run from here. And I just want to urge caution. It doesn't mean don't take positions. It means know your time horizon based on when the halving is going to be, because I still think there's going to be a little bit of a sell-off. Now, when we look at the data for what's going on here, there's a lot of things I want to pay attention to. The halving. Yes, we talk about this a lot. This is from the Bitcoin strategy platform, Rational Root. If you guys did not watch that interview we did with him last week, great interview. These are the last 3 cycles leading up to the halving. Back in 2016, back in 2018, 2019, this is an orange cycle here. And I just want you to pay attention. Right here, we had a complete equilibrium between the previous 2 cycles, and now we're essentially exactly where we need to be. Now, if we get a run up here, I'd still be watching for a pullback. We very well could just chop sideways here or even pull back from here. There's a lot of things we need to consider in terms of risk management between now and that halving. Now, when we look at Solana, I just want to think Solana has been ripping. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit easier to see here. Solana has been ripping. Solana's up over 520% this year alone. I just want people to Solana's had about $12.5 million in inflows in the last week, up from 10 million the previous week. It's $120 million of inflows, new capital into the space this year so far. Now, if we scroll down here, we can also see the on-chain data also shows that Solana has grown its DeFi as well as TVLs up $136 million since the beginning of November. So that's a $546 million TVL now, as according to DeFi Llama. By the way, anybody not using DeFi Llama, get on it because it gives you so much good information. Now, when we're looking at TA on the charts, I know TJ had said $100, $77. This is the next level I'm looking at for 2 reasons. On this chart alone, we have a bit of a bull flag here. If you come down to a little bit smaller time frame, you can see the bull flag. Yes, we had a deviation below, but this is as expected with these mid cap non-major assets. The Bitcoin is still a small cap compared to traditional assets, but Solana, the further we go down these market cap rankings, these things have a lot of deviations that break from what the norm would be. This bull flag, yes, it should not have had this deviation below, but if we still extrapolate what this would be, the target out of this is right here to this level. Also where this line is. What is it? This line goes all the way back. This is the previous lows of the previous range. It's also in line with what the 0.5 Fibonacci is. Right now, we've just been hanging out right at this 382. So this is a logical next level from a target and a Fibonacci standpoint. Now, when we look at this on the daily, we can see that we're getting a lot of these crossover zones right here on the BitLab trend fuel. We can see that this is rolling over. But when we look at Lux Algo, I just want to point out, is it loading up? Come on, you can do it, baby. Lux Algo is not loading for some reason. There we go.
There it is. There we go.
There we go. So Lux Algo, the Lux Algo oscillator premium, it's very, very high. See this typically, see this right up in here. It ends up being it's somewhat of a topping signal. Price tends to pull back. See up in here, price pulls back. See up in here, we're getting to that overheated zone. Now, one thing I want to urge caution on not just Solana, but AVAX, but Bitcoin, but all these different assets, and more expressively, the further you go down that CoinMarketCap list, you can use TA right now, and TA could say it's going down, but when you have this exuberance from institutions ready and waiting to get in, because the time is now. DZ, TJ, Drew, everybody watching the channel right now, the time is now, because governments are looking at what's going on. People are looking at what's going on. Institutions are looking at what's going on. Fair value accounting rules have changed. ETFs are on the horizon. So now is not the time, if you're not a professional trader, to just get in there on a 5-minute chart and scalp away your money unless you have a strategy. That's why we really in to places like BitLab Academy or anywhere. Take your time to dive into these charts. If we look over here at Bitcoin, before I go, I just wanted to peek into Bitcoin because we haven't yet. Bitcoin is, we're having on the daily chart, we have a bit of a bearish divergence here. What do I mean? Bearish divergence on the on the stochastics here. Looking here at logo, we can see we're already overheated on the oscillator premium. We also got signal on Luxalgo. We also pushed into the reversal bands. So on any indicator set you're looking at, there's plenty of signals that are suggesting downside price action may be in store. And it's not the end of the world, because what I consider right now, one of the most bullish things we can do, contrary to popular belief, is price action coming down and tapping somewhere in the $31,500 to $33,000 range, because that would sort of satisfy having the push up, pullback, continuation sort of things that we want to see in a healthy bull trend. And I'll say this, I made this very bright, this trend line. We have been navigating around this as support, and we've lost it here. This has held a lot of resistance. We've fallen back below it. So in the next, 4 to 6 hour candles, cannot get back above this zone. I do think that we have a higher possibility of the price action pushing to the downside. Now, if you want to learn more about all this stuff, understand how to read this price action, head over to BitLab account. And by the way, sign up, scroll down this pop-up, sign up for the newsletter here. We're going to be pushing out a really big, basically discount, and just want to get people in the door around the holiday seasons. So we're going to be pushing that out for the people that are on that email list. But that's all I got. I hope everybody just trades smart. Watch for that inflows. Disregard a little bit of your TA. Be prepared, but be ready for some irrational price behavior.
That's right. All right. Appreciate it, Kelly. Always a good time. We're just call it off since he's having the headphone issues. Yeah, this is that time of period where you're going to just see things that do not make sense. So you have to be careful right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different factors to consider. I'm glad he pointed out that 35K level, and it'll be really interesting. Right now, watching what happens over the weekend, Friday to Sunday can kind of tell the story a little bit. I noticed you kind of called a little bit of the Sunday pullback on the basement streams you were doing. And we've got some headlines here that lines up exactly with what Kelly's talking about. So I want to kind of paint the picture for a little bit of next week. We know, Bitcoin bounced, or Bitcoin prices bounce at 1 week lows as well. Whales sell into 35K. That's what was pulling us back to those levels, but it is starting to establish some strong support there. And we saw this happen, 1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin sent to exchanges in the last month. And that's what these sells are. Like, people were selling into these levels, and it was bouncing and getting that support very, very well. So if that continues to happen, we could see very bullish activity for the next couple of weeks. So again, we're at kind of a tipping point right now where if the Bitcoin price can clear 37, it's got some room to run, which means I think alts will do extremely well because there's momentum around it. We're seeing people rotate into other layer ones. Again, Matic, Solana, Avalanche, things like that. I'm not Matic, but Avalanche, Solana, Chainlink, Cardano. And here's why I think there's a pretty good chance that the price does continue to go next week. We saw a little bit of the foreshadowing with the CPI numbers and the inflation numbers being a little bit more favorable. We've got a CPI report coming out next Tuesday that, if it stays in line with what we already saw this week with the inflation coming down, that could be another bullish catalyst coming back in. We saw, I think it was almost $1 trillion added to the stock market this week off of some of that news. If we continue to see the prices rally off of decent CPI numbers, decent jobs reports, that could be what provides the next Bitcoin catalyst. And again, if Bitcoin can clear 37, there's room to run to 38. And then, exactly. I think we've got a lot of potential for some good runs there. So just something to keep in mind as we're going into the weekend and coming in next week. Now, like he was just saying, now's the time to be accumulating. It's not a dramatic difference at some of these levels where you get in if there's a slight pullback, and if you're going to hold for the long term. If you're not looking to day trade, sure, there's scalps you can do. You got to check your entries. You got to be careful with what you're doing day trading. But long term, you believe in accumulating smart contract platforms, layer ones across the board. I would say the time for the best entries is probably already behind us. We were telling you for a year on this channel, accumulate anything under. I mean, I've said it till I was blue in the face on Basement. Anything under 20K was a great buy for Bitcoin. Even anything under 28, And so many people were, oh, 25, 28. I'm like, you're not going to care in 6 months or a year if you bought at 25 or 28. You're going to be patting yourself on the back. It's very similar right now. You're not going to care where you started accumulating with some of these alts after these ETFs get approved and we just start teleporting to some of these crazy prices. There's still tons of opportunity. The best opportunity and the best gains are still probably a year out. So you've got time. Don't FOMO into tops. Don't. And it cracks me up. You wait and you watch, and then boom, you get a 25% price jump, and then it's like, oh, now I need to buy. Don't necessarily do it that way. However, don't feel like, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Solana's moved a lot in the last week. What pullback should I wait for? You can pick a level. There's some pretty clear levels on Solana. I think where it's establishing some supports at 50 or 40, 53, 54, even all the way back to 45. If you know those numbers in your head, sure, set low buy or low buy orders when they're coming in, but don't stay on the sideline too long because there's a lot of opportunity right now to start changing your life in the next couple of years. So, I just encourage you over and over again, get involved with BitLab, learn the different stuff, get in the Discord where we're talking about all these crazy picks because there's money being made left and right.
Yes. And if you join us Friday with the membership, we're gonna have a Q&A after the show only for members, so you can ask us those portfolio questions. I had a couple questions. Matic always been underrated. Hey, I market bought Matic thinking it was it was a little frothy. Bought it next day, 10% pump. So just you never know, folks. I know Drew's experienced a lot of that with Caspa Chain. Like, oh man, I'm buying the pump, and then it pumps and doubles in 2 weeks.
It happens, man. But in what DJ's saying in like our time frame right now. I see a lot of people like, is ETF guaranteed? No, it's not guaranteed. Even if we follow a diminished return process, crypto's still going to tap out at about $4 to $5 trillion in market cap, which is tons of upside from where we're at right now. You just got to think in perspective on where we are in time frame, because we have a kind of like a 6-month window of really, really good buys. That's kind of what I'm feeling. So
now you say ETFs aren't guaranteed. Yes, I want to answer that question. Are ETFs guaranteed? No, ETFs are not guaranteed. However, let me just say it, in my opinion, is looking highly likely. We have a lot of ETF experts we've been following. They don't think it's going to get approved this week, but I think it was Eric Balchunas puts it at 90% for a January approval. Also, we've talked about this before. We did a video on it. BlackRock's odds on ETF approval, 575 to 1.
Wow.
So they've had one denial and 575 yeses. They got the stamp. So I'm expecting 576 to 1, more likely than 575 to 2. Now look at this tweet from SatoshiFlipper. Just one ETF approval this week. Bitcoin to 40K, Link to $20, ETH to 2,500. Now imagine if Gary is in a good mood and we get all 8 approvals at once. TJ was talking about that next level. Maybe if it does happen in January, I think it's January 8th. Maybe someone fact check me on that. That would be a perfect time for, a little bit under 2 months, about a month and a half, kind of cool down, maybe get a little bit of a pullback, maybe get that boring sideways action that precedes giant pumps. And then imagine 8 ETF approvals in January. Yeah. What do you think that day looks like?
I mean, that'd be a fun day. I think it looks like a party day here in the office for sure.
Wait, can we order pizza with 2 toppings this time?
Yeah, 2 toppings.
Maybe
we'll go 3 toppings. We'll go 3 toppings.
I don't know if I can handle it.
No, but that's a good point. I mean, so 8 days is when the next deadline is up for a lot of these things. And as DZ and Drew were both alluding to, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be approved at the next deadline. Actually, more likely than not, we will see delays. However, we're going to probably see pumps into them. And if they are approved, that's when we see some really crazy price action. So that's where you have to decide for yourself, like, look, if you're long-term bullish and you say, like, I want to be in the market before anything gets approved, that you should be accumulating now. If you're waiting for a pullback, hey, a delay in 8 days most likely causes a little bit of a pullback, and that could be where you get your entries on some of these projects. But you have to decide for yourself if you want to take that risk. We know they're coming eventually, so for me, I'm just accumulating. It doesn't really matter to me if it gets approved at the end of November or the beginning of January or even at the very end. I think there's another date in March. They will be approved inevitably, and there's a lot of different scenarios for what would happen if they get rejected and pullbacks. And you look at the cycle and what happened last time. You could see a lot of people are calling for that bearish retest of 25 or even 20K. And there's scenarios in play that could do that. So you want to be prepared for those, but you also need to do the risk reward, right? If that if the odds of that are extremely low, what's going to happen if that doesn't happen, and are you prepared for both scenarios? You need to hedge your bets. So always, I'm accumulating, and then you have cash on the sidelines for when those pullbacks come in. You set those low buy orders because you know they're going to get snapped up quick. So like he was saying, one ETF approval could move the price up a lot. Eventually, a lot of these ETFs are going to get approved because they can't, they're going to have to at least show some level of
favoritism.
Yeah, no favoritism. They got to be fair here. So that's why they're lining all of these things up. Most likely, they're going to approve multiple at the same time. They're probably not going to approve just one, like BlackRock's or anybody's, because that gives a pretty sizable advantage to that market participant. So it's coming. Are you prepared? And what are you going to do when it happens? Those are the questions you need to be asking yourself.
I think I might pull some Solana profits today, perhaps, though. I might just sell like 5. Would that be around $300? And maybe see if I could turn that $300 into 6 or 7 Solana in the future. Guys, big moves happening over here. Honestly, I don't want to sell my Solana, so I'm just kind of gambling with $300, basically, is what I'm going to be doing. See if I could turn 5 into 6 and maybe 6 into 7.
Yeah, we got, I can't read it. It looks like Club Grist says, speaking up cuts, looks like Fed fund futures traders are betting on an early Fed pivot as well, according to Fed Watch Tool. So
we might have Tim Warren maybe make a little short on that. So we'll share any updates on that. So they're saying maybe just get their correct fund future traders are betting on earlier pivot. Some Fed Watch tool.
Again, tool. And that ties into the CPI numbers. We're talking about the inflation numbers starting to drop back down. So if we're talking about a perfect storm here in 2024 for Bitcoin, where we see an ETF approval, we see rate maybe cuts at some point in 2024 coming back in, and money printer turning back on, and just huge cash injection into the economy.
Right.
You've been waiting for it for a long time. 2024 is going to be fun, and you can't wait for 2025.
Well, that actually takes us to Chamath Palihapitiya's remarks talking about cash on the sidelines to the tune of $6 trillion. And he's predicting a market rally is going to happen a lot sooner than people are expecting. Just like if we do get this pivot sooner than people expect, this rally will happen sooner than people expect. He said $6 trillion is being waiting to deploy. Markets are ripe for a strong rally as the deluge of capital looks for a new home. I watched this video. Let me do his quote here. We're really in a decent place with inflation. If you think about what's going to happen in the next 6 months, it's mostly in the bag. There's a lag effect on a handful of components, specifically rents. And once you roll them into this inflation rate, you're going to see really, really turnover very, very quickly here. There's a key takeaway I got because I listened to that whole podcast. There's a key takeaway. Fund managers, all right, so they have BlackRock's case, $9 trillion, around $10 trillion. If you just have them hold your cash, they don't get paid any money.
Right.
They get paid to deploy your capital. And right now there's $6 trillion on the sidelines waiting to be deployed. It isn't so much, well, I think it's actually a better call to, maybe leave it on the sidelines. No, they have a financial incentive to deploy. So even if this money manager, I'm not saying at the high level, but you got that middle manager type whose salary is largely based off commission. He's looking at $20 million on the sidelines. Well, if he goes and deploys that, well, maybe he's looking at a $200K bonus this Christmas. And so maybe even, hey, I'm kind of 60-40 and needs to stay on the sidelines. Well, that Christmas bonus is going to look pretty attractive. And so I'm expecting, sales of this deployment. Look, people got to make money. They got sales bonuses. We just started a new fiscal year, November 1st. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the $6 trillion deployed more quickly rather than, lately, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, on the ETF, I just want to note they only have 2 days left to respond. So we're going to get, either a denial or kind of a delay on the ETF. That's what Tim was coming in and letting us know.
All right. Well, speaking of denials, let's talk about elections.
Oh,
can I say that?
No.
Yeah. Can I say that? Okay. All right. I'm not saying anything else besides that. Although as a Georgia resident, I know, Drew, you're outside. You want to see what's on the other side of that locked door, don't you?
I do. I'm very curious about what's on the other side of that locked door.
We're not going to get into it, but there's a locked door with, on the other side of the door, 150,000 ballots.
Yeah.
It's just on the other side of the door. It's been there 3 years. It answers all the questions. Why can't we open the door? Why can't we open the door? Anyways, let's talk about the correlation between elections and recessions. Raises concerns ahead of 2024. The federal fund rates currently stands at 5.33, a peak unseen since 2001. Indicates the ongoing battle against one of the harshest inflation rates in the past 40 years. However, with the U.S. CPI year over year decreasing from 8%, everybody, to a mere 3.2. The pressure seems to be easing. While the Fed has paused rate hikes for now, the elevated rate could potentially trigger economic repercussions. And here we have just some data. While this recurrence does not constitute an economic rule, it poses an interesting question. Could the 2024 election year be a stage for another recession? So here, we just have some historical data going all the way back to Eisenhower, pre-Kennedy versus Nixon, 1960. So seeing a little overlap of recession here. Let's go a little bit more recent. I don't know how many people watching at home maybe voted for Eisenhower, but maybe not that many. So maybe we go from let's start at the early 2000s recession. We did have an overlap here with the Bush versus Gore. Then we had the Great Recession. I mean, that was definitely started. I knew, I felt like Bush's party was just going to have a hard time. I mean, it was John McCain is coming off that 2007 financial crisis. It just, Bush looked exasperated. I don't know if you guys recall or old enough, like watching financial news. He's like at press conferences, got some bankers with him, like Warren Buffett's in the sidelines, like eating popcorn, waiting to like buy all these cheap Bank of America stocks. And he's just like, he looked more stressed during that period than he did after getting the news on 9/11. That's all I'm going to say. All right. I can say that one too, right? I can say that one. All right. Any other, let's see, you want to take a little IMF here, TJ?
Real quick, a couple of things in the chat. We do have about almost 800 people watching right now. Smash the like buttons. I think we can get over 300 while we're live. It is interesting, election year, the cycles, they do kind of play into the Bitcoin cycle, right? With it launching in an election year, and they're roughly 4-year cycles for Bitcoin, plays out.
Yeah, it's interesting. He launched 08, which was, hey, it's a 25% chance it happened, but it did happen to fall on an election year.
Yeah. And so you usually see pumps into these things. Recession talks have been very strong for the last few years. Now they're kind of backing off on that. They're able to, I would say, soften the feeling of it with all the money printing, and they're doing it more through inflation than actual wages, so they can tell you things aren't that bad. But you go to the gas station, you buy an energy drink for $6. Like inflation is definitely very real, whether they tell you it's at 2 or 3% or not. We see it with college tuition prices, we see it with real estate and real world asset prices. So the more we see this market moving into crypto, I think again you're gonna have to be creative with how you make your money, and just being a typical working wage earner is not going to get it done. And I think people that are in that position have experienced that for the last few years. Life is getting more difficult if you're just doing a 9 to 5 and trying to live off that salary. That's why you see, and this happens a lot throughout history, you can see when inflation is high, people are they're going to have to take riskier and riskier bets. And it's not necessarily, it's actually the intelligent people that are doing that. They're getting creative. They're gambling. You're going to see more sports betting. You're going to see more, again, crypto investing. You're going to see more
watches go back up.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. People are going to be messing around and flipping and trading to stay ahead of that curve. So that's why I'm excited that all you guys are in here. That's what you guys are doing. You're very smart, and getting into blockchain, Web3, crypto. Even again, taking risky picks sometimes is part of what it's going to take to get ahead. Long term, you want to be stacking Bitcoin, you want to be stacking Ethereum, you want to be buying hard assets that help you separate yourself from what's going on here. But in the meantime, it is time to be taking shots on all sorts of different things. I'm looking at deep AI coins. I'm looking at deep gaming coins. We haven't really put those videos together yet, but we're working on them. We're definitely talking about them in the Discord. So you guys want to get in there, the BitLab Discord. That's where we're all hanging out. I was looking today at some AI picks that I think will do well. But again, there's easy 10, 20Xs, I feel like, on CoinMarketCap right now. We're going to look at a few of them here in a minute. But let us know in the chat, what are some of your favorite altcoins that you guys are stacking right now? I see Chemistry Bro just said AVAX just popped up over $20. Big fan of Avalanche. What do you got?
Oh, no, nothing we could read out loud. I am talking about the Basement Bandit name. Hot take there. Oh, wow. Very hot take.
Hot take.
Yeah. I'll see you down there, bud.
Yeah, we are going to get right into the alts, everybody. So I think we just go to, I did think Club Gris said something smart. Feels like what people are calling a rolling recession, going through different sectors at different times. So we saw watches get hit, crypto got hit, I guess you could say November 21. So that's 2 years ago. And then watches were hit shortly after that. And then used cars happened after that, and then real estate happened after that, and now crypto's kind of coming back up. Our watch is going to be up in 6 months. So yeah, maybe we are seeing a little bit of, it's just spread so far across so many different sectors. We don't really feel it all at once. All right, let's talk about alts here. What is leading the surge right now? Well, we do have Solana leading the surge. ETH and Solana lead DeFi surge as TVL and DEX activity soars. Decentralized exchanges there. Central to understanding this landscape is the concept of TVL, which is total value locked, and decentralized exchange volumes. These are two crucial metrics that offers insights into the health of a DeFi protocol. The market cap to TVL ratio is another critical measure, shedding light on the market's perception of a chain's value. Ethereum's ratio of close to 10, it's 9.72, suggests a mature market. Meanwhile, Solana's higher ratio of 43.49 indicates either potential growth opportunities or an undervalued ecosystem, warranting closer investor scrutiny. So I will say this, I see people mentioning Cardano. Someone's like, well, they're not even mentioning Cardano. Sometimes there's easy options which will hurt DeFi. And, BJ can attest to this. I get risk-free, relatively risk-free. This is crypto. I get risk-free 4.5%, or maybe it's 3.9. It fluctuates. Just stake it through my wallet. Why would I go chase 8% losing custody? And so,
yeah. I know you guys are big Cardano fans. Somebody asked earlier in the show, I don't remember the name, do you guys think Cardano could be another EOS? And that is a thought I've been wrestling with for the last year or two.
Yeah.
I hold a lot of Cardano personally. I originally got in at 5 cents. I'm not complaining about where it is now, where it could go. I've done very well with it. However, it does make me feel like a little bit of a crypto boomer that held on to the Litecoins and the EOSs for way too long. And EOS, really hasn't done much in the last couple cycles. It's not necessarily going to hit any new all-time highs. It's not really doing what it wants to do. Cardano, it works. There's DeFi on it. There's things you can do with it. But is my capital better placed in other projects that have more acceptance, more market
network effect with developers?
Yeah, all sorts of different things. So yeah, I'm leaning towards that in a little bit. I'm not saying I want to abandon Cardano, because I do think it's, like you said, it's good. It's an easy 10x. Like, it will pump in this cycle just like it did last cycle. But every time I'm leaning more towards into some of these newer again, Thorchain has me really excited. I've been talking about it a lot. A lot of these decentralized exchange projects, DOIDX, something I've been talking about a lot. I see, reading through the chat, some of you guys, I see Matic in here. I see Cosmos and Ada, Render, GME,
ICP.
I'm not sleeping on ICP. I got a big bag of ICP.
I think we're working on an ICP review video right now.
And Prince Tesla, my 5 Chinese coins, Chinese alts, Celestia's in there. Not so much from the development or the founding, but with the community. And I break down why that community likes it so much. Tesla.
Robert Vermouth says Cardano needs a big app or it will become the next EOS. I tend to agree. Like, if it doesn't get something that happens really soon.
It needs a good stable in 6 months.
Yeah.
Zed just isn't it. USDM, a lot of people are holding their hopes on that one. Maybe IOG taking over Cody, or, absorbing Cody can kind of help Zed there. But yeah, they need a very stable coin. They don't need a stable coin that goes from 97 cents to $1.09. That's just not what people want.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have a couple other coins. This is according to CryptoRank.io. They have the best 3 alts to buy right now: Frax Share, Polygon, and Immutable. Just real quick thoughts. Any of these standing out to you two?
Yeah, I like all 3 of those projects. I mean, if I don't know, I built this 100K portfolio a week or two ago. It's up to 130K now. I know I had I have Frax in here. It's doing 24% on the week. Thorchain doing 76% on the week. DYDX 68%. So Immutable, we talked about a lot on the show. It could be another dark horse. Every Polygon Matic, that's kind of a shoe-in. A lot of people are building on it, using it. We talked about that with even the bridges and things that are for the layer 2s. Matic, Optimism, Arbitrum, we see them used all the time. But Immutable X, strong in the gaming niche. We're seeing a lot of people using it there. Don't mind that as a pick. But really, Rune and DYDX have been my 2 top performers. Solana as well, 45% on the week. So there's a lot. And then Base, a sneaky one down here. I just grabbed a little bit of it, but 100% in the last 7 days. those are some of the ones I'm looking at. But yeah, Frax shares, again, it's a sneaky one when it comes to DeFi and real world assets. It's a lower cap. It can move right now. Crimson Caravan Company, again, he likes AVAX. A lot of people in AVAX, a lot of people in IMX. I feel like there's so many good projects to pick from right now. You don't have to get too risky. You don't have to go into these crazy coins. C90 says CAS. I don't even know what GFall is. I'll have to look into that one. But yeah, I mean, I like all three of those picks.
IMX, there is a pretty big partnership with IMX. I see people, bringing it up here. IMX is another standout. They got a lot of traction after being added to Amazon's ISV Accelerate program. It's just going to give them the AWS resources to boost security capabilities, and is important for securing partnerships. It's a really good move when you're talking to VCs. If you're Immutable X and you want, you're talking to Starbucks, and Starbucks wants to make a mini game on the mobile app where you're like shooting pumpkin spice at Snowman's eyeballs to make a melt. I don't know what the game's going to look like. You can have that idea for free, IMX. Having Amazon back them is a lot better than, well, yeah, let's go in the Discord call with our engineer and he tells you about how we make sure the website doesn't crash. They'd rather just hear Amazon, even though it is more centralized. This is what biz dev heads are going to want to hear, though.
And this was one more point I forgot to make earlier. I did say I was going to come back to this at the end of the show. I noticed when we did a video talking about Solana not too long ago, there was a lot of comments saying like, oh, FTX, they hold such a huge bag. They're going to dump all their holdings and dump the price. You got to get out of Solana or, you're going to get dumped on. I just want to, put some facts behind it. FTX sold about 7 million in Solana in the past few weeks for about $280 million in UST. They're completely out of unlocked SOL at this time. The only Solana they have exposure to is locked up, most of it until 2027, 2028, just in time to sell the bottom of the next bear market. So you can just kind of put that FUD out of your mind. At this point, it's actually in their best interest to see the price pump up so much so that they can claim they've got strong reserves on their balance sheet, so they can show that the exchange is in a good functioning order to relaunch. So don't think for sure, FTX is going to dump it all. Now, Alameda might be a different story, but you need to look into these facts before you just run with the most recent narrative. And the fact that they did dump so much and it just got sucked up, by the market, that's a good sign, and it bodes well for the long term of Solana.
Yeah, FTX's Solana vesting schedule is not that well understood. So I'm glad you pointed that out. And most 2027, 2028. So we got a ways away. Although this is crypto, you blink 3 times over there.
Here, I got another sneaky pick. I don't know if you've got this story
I like the
up there or not.
Sneaky pick. We're talking deep alts with the deep gains potentially.
Yeah, it's not that deep. It's ANKR protocol. They just collaborated with Optimism to launch a roll-up service for Web3 developers. If you watch, I've mentioned this before. If you watch when things are moving and you look for strong projects that aren't for some reason, ANKR did have a hack not too long ago or something, some kind of, I can't remember exactly what the deal was. It might have been a bridge hack, or I guess it was just a FUD story about them not actually paying a certain amount that was owed on some deal, and the price tanked pretty good off of that news, and it was while a lot of the rest of the market was moving. So if you're in a project that you've seen have massive gains recently and you're looking to take some profits, ANKR protocol, strong project, been around a long time. It's an infrastructure play within DeFi. It's one to keep an eye on. It's not necessarily super sexy. It's kind of like another Curve or something like that. But ANKR is one that you could get at a decent entry right now, even when a lot of other things are moving.
Are you looking up the price, Drew, real quick? ANKR bought at 16 cents. Not the best idea. I don't know where it's at right now, but okay.
Let me see. I'll pull it up.
16 cents. Is that 2 cents?
It's at about 2.5 cents right now.
Okay, 2.5. Hey, we're rounding up. It's closer to 3, everybody.
And if you look, it's sitting kind of at a little bit of a local level here. So it could pop up. Again, if it can clear some of these 2.5s, there's room to run on it. So like I said, it got a little bit suppressed in the last week or two compared to the rest of the market. So the deep pick, but one to keep an eye on.
You know what crypto mooned more than all of them? Moon more than Solana. Moon more than all of the tokens. Deep cuts. I'm talking about Moon. Actually, Moon mooned everybody. It skyrocketed 170%. Oh man, the Reddit community. So this has been going through a lot of turmoil. Reddit kind of sunsetted any kind of community points program. So the Moon token just fell off a cliff. There's a lot of downward pressure on the price there. But why is Moon mooning? This is why right here. Reddit admins will be burning all moons held in the community tank. Well, what does that actually mean? This means the supply is going from 126 million to 83 million. That's a pretty significant drop, though. We're not talking about a SHIB burn where they throw out a number where you're like, 2 trillion was burned. And then you look, it's like 0.01% of the supply.
Right.
This is closer to, let's see, this is right around 25 plus 17, 32, 42 out of 125. We're looking at 1/3. This is 1/3 of the tokens, not 0.3%, not 3%, closer to 33%. So I would say that is the type of thing that gets retail excited, and Moon is definitely a retail token, Reddit token. What are y'all's thoughts on Reddit? Reddit, we have a contentious relationship with Reddit. I don't really ever have an issue with Reddit. I used to be on 4chan, so I used to make fun of Reddit. Then I got into Reddit as 4chan, started going down the toilet. But then it just became a hate space where people just argue online. And then as I notice, when you sort by controversial, you get better comments. That's when I kind of checked out. You open it today, it just makes you angry.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an important access point for retail, right? Just in regular social media sphere.
That's a good point.
To get access to crypto content, right? I see that a lot of people source out really good information on Reddit that are completely outside of crypto, and they find information there. They see the gamifying of Moon tokens and all these things happen, and it starts to get the mind spinning on the potentials of crypto, and then they see the overall ecosystem. I think it's a great way to get crypto at large exposure as long as it keeps doing what it's doing. So.
When 4chan tokens, they're telling you to buy Bitcoin at 10 cents. That was the 4chan token. I wasn't 10 cents. It was like $1 or it was 10. I don't know what it was. Bitcoin's like a year or two old. I'd have to look at the price chart. Yeah, they're telling me to buy then. I was like, I don't trust 4chan. It's a bunch of scammers. They wanted me to download this Bitcoin software.
Unbelievable.
You mean malware where you can steal all my info? Haha, nice try, hacker. I'm not going to download that stupid thing called a wallet. That was my experience, at least. But you know what? We have a message. We have a message for the hacker, or maybe not the hacker, for that leverage trader that scammed the crypto community with the fake BlackRock listing. You guys, we covered it yesterday. He didn't just make an LLC. He had to get notaries and
he did a lot of work.
He did a lot of work, folks. Well, Delaware is referring that ETF application to the U.S. Department of Justice. So beware. If you're watching at home, you're the guy who did it, or you're in that little Telegram group where you guys open the long, hey, you got to be careful. You might be prosecuted and arrested by the judiciary, which Drew can attest. They'll play dirty.
Yeah, if they want you out of the DOJ for manipulating the markets and causing, potentially tens of millions of dollars in liquidations and positions, you're going to be sought after and captured. So that's the way.
But it's the Delaware Department of Justice, not the feds. I don't know, but Delaware has a lot of LLC paperwork, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have a robust Fed office in that state. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you have any more questions. I did see a question asking about Mina Protocol. If we still like Mina Protocol. I'm interested in it. I think ZKs are going to be ZK rollups and zero knowledge proofs going to be a big narrative as we move forward. We can already see privacy and government overreach happening all around the world. Privacy being a hot button issue. It's a way that you can run these applications, with zero knowledge proofs. It's a way you can run these applications without having to give up complete and total user data information over to the application that's running it. We've already seen when that happens. It does not take long for government agencies to realize oh, wow, you guys have a lot of financial information and a lot of personal data. We're going to turn up the heat on whatever it is, whether it's an exchange, a protocol, a developer, to get that information from you. I think we're ahead of that curve. Zero knowledge proofs does solve for a lot of those problems where we can have decentralized applications running at scale, with good information and getting the job done without the application itself hosting all of that information. So it is one I'm keeping an eye on because I'm watching that entire niche. I'm not sure where it sits on CoinMarketCap right now, but it's one to keep an eye on. So I still like it. And somebody else just asked, what about eGold or Multiverse X? I did see that come up in comments a lot of our different shows. I mean, either of you have an opinion on eGold?
No, I mean, I remember, it was talked about a lot, 2021 on the channel. I thought about pulling the trigger because, was it Elron liked it a whole lot. I just, he told me too many tokens.
Well, it was his name, Elron. It used to be, Multiverse X used to be Elron. Right?
Yeah, that's why I think it was even pretty close off that name back then. I was like, yeah, you just like it because it's close to your name. This was, right when they switched to their next name, name number 3, I think. They're on name number 4 right now.
Yeah, and that's what's tough. When you see a lot of rebrands, that's not usually a good sign with a token. They're doing a lot of different things. That being said, Multiverse X, it does sound good. If it can catch the narrative, if they can stay relevant as things go forward, I know they do have a lot of big partnerships. They've got a lot of big aspirations. If they can start to deliver on some of those things, there is a lot of potential for it. I don't hate it as a pick. Let's see, Chris P asking, would you rather buy Atom or XLM? For me, it's slam dunk Atom. I'm a big Cosmos ecosystem guy. I think that could be one that performs very well. XLM doesn't do much for you. What do you think, Drew?
I have XLM already, so I'd be getting Atom. You know what I mean? I already have that covered.
Well, but you hold XLM, you don't hold any Atom right now?
No, don't hold any Atom.
You go. Then you chose XLM, I chose Atom.
Yep.
Do you have a take on either one, DZ?
XLM is, it's just going to piggyback off XRP. I'd rather just own XRP, even if you say, oh, it could be higher potential upside with the lower market cap. I'm going to go with Atom, though, out of those two. I think just the Cosmos ecosystem is just year after year after year, they keep building, and you want to kind of discount it as a dead project. Then you learn more and more chains are kind of spun off that. Even if it's not an official connection, there's still slight connections there. One of the hottest coins right now, TIA, Celestia, has some Cosmos roots. So, do not sleep on Atom.
Yeah, and Injective Protocol, obviously, is another one we've talked about a lot that comes out of that Cosmos ecosystem. So, Cosmos versus Cosmos. What is this? I can't read that first part, but a lot of interesting things to watch in that ecosystem, guys. Again, watch decentralized exchanges and the fees that are coming out of them, perpetual dexes. I do think that is going to be a very strong niche. That's all we have time for today. Do want to remind you guys that we do have memberships rolling. Our first members only stream will be this Friday around this time. We're going to wrap up the live stream and then we're going to go right into that members only content. Make sure smash the likes on the way out. It's a good day to be in crypto. It's a good day to be alive. Oh, I was going to do this at the beginning of the show. I forgot. Recently in the office, we've been doing this thing where we talk about what we're grateful for today. Let us know if you're in the chat. List 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for. It puts you in a great mood. It's a great way to frame your mindset. Real quick, DZ, what did you say?
Well, I've been thinking about this in the mornings, every morning since before TJ was doing this. And this morning, I get real esoteric, I'm like thinking as like about Roman Empire and stuff like that. So my choice this morning was clothing.
Yeah.
We used to not wear clothing. How stupid, right? I mean, come on, man. Fashion that saber-tooth tiger into a tunic.
Right.
What's wrong with you? I can only imagine growing up or living in a civilization where you don't even have clothes.
Yeah.
You imagine how terrible. Sure, maybe you're in the Serengeti, but those early Inuits and stuff, that couldn't have been good.
Everything takes a while.
Drew, what are you thankful for today?
I'm thankful to be surrounded by intelligent people that lift each other up.
There you go.
Bring people to crypto, helping people escape from inflation, and we're here to win. So I'm thankful for that.
We see you, KO Kevin. He says he's grateful for having hair on my head. Got him.
We're grateful. That's 17 follicles you're hearing.
Yeah, there it is. We're grateful for all of you guys. I appreciate numbers going up. That's always fun. Prices going up. That's always fun. You guys smashing the like buttons. We have the best community. Discover Crypto, the most engaged community in all of crypto. We're going to make bank this next bull run. Having fun hanging out with you guys in the Discord. Grateful that we have so many opportunities in front of us. That's all we have time for today. We will see you guys next time.